I just feel that this watch from Omega is so underrated. Welcome back to Time in the Wrist at Chisholm Hunter. My name is Harrison, as always, and today we're going to talk about an Omega that I think is totally underrated. Now, yes, I know what you're thinking. Harrison, shut up about Omega. You talk about them far too much, and you also pronounce the name wrong. But remember that Daniel Craig himself pronounces Omega instead of Omega, so I'm copying the king. This, sitting right beside me, is the Omega Constellation 41mm. It is a family from Omega that I don't talk very much about because Omega is kind of dominated by the Seamaster and the Moonwatch. But believe it or not, in 1952 the Constellation was released and it is Omega's longest running family of watches. Let's begin by first covering the specs of this model, and as we go through the specs, I'll discuss why I think this watch is just that little bit underrated. It's dominated by the Speedmaster and the Seamaster. Not many people think of getting this watch, but I think you should consider it. I would consider it. This model comes in at 41mm in diameter and 13.2mm in thickness. So let's dissect those two measurements for a second. The first measurement, 41mm, it's pretty bang on. It's pretty perfect. I would like to see it in a 40, but 41, I can pull that off with my 6.5-inch wrists, and it looks pretty awesome with that kind of integrated design of the leather strap into the head of this model. Now, the 13.2mm in thickness, that's a snag for me. In my opinion, this watch is more dressy. It should be thinner than that. The head of this watch comes in full stainless steel, and it has a combination of polished and brushed metal. Now, the claws coming into the bezel are the highlight feature of this model. I love that design. It's classic to the Constellation range, and you don't see it pretty much anywhere else in the industry. Now, that black sort of bezel, the ceramic black bezel against that highly polished, those two highly polished claws coming in at each side, it just looks awesome. The strap on this model is this kind of integrated strap with the face, as you can see just from this little sort of design feature here linking them together. It actually looks really, really nice. It looks almost integrated, or shall I say, it is integrated. It's a combination of leather and rubber. It has rubber on the inside for comfortability and leather on the outside for the looks of that leather. Now, personally, I just kind of wish they had a bracelet for this model. For the 41mm with the ceramic bezel, they don't have a bracelet, and I don't know why, because I think that 70s inspired design bracelet, almost like the Tissot PRX, would look absolutely incredible on this watch. I think that would make this watch. It would look like a Patek Philippe Nautilus or a Vacheron Overseas. It just needs that bracelet. The main feature in this model has to be that black ceramic bezel, highlighted by those two claws coming up at the 3 o'clock mark and of course at the 9 o'clock mark. It just looks amazing. The difference between that glossed black and the polished steel just looks insane. The problem though that I can see here is while your ceramic won't really scratch because of course it's ceramic, the stainless steel will. So you'll have over time a big difference between that polished stainless steel and the ceramic. However, for a dress watch, it still looks absolutely awesome. I own a Grand Seiko. Now, it has Zaratsu polishing all over it. The thing is polished to the nose. Everything about it is polished. And I don't wear it going up a hill, hiking, going outdoors, because I know it will scratch. I only wear it on special occasions, and I think this is what you need to consider when you get this watch. Now, if you don't like the color combination on this, if you don't like the black, they actually have a blue version, they have a full gold version, which is a bit blingy for my liking, and they have a couple more versions. Now, all of these can be seen on the Chisholm Hunter website. Chisholm Hunter are authorized retailers for Omega watches, and if you want to try your Omega watch on digitally, make sure you hit the link in the description below. Moving past the bezel, moving past the sort of head of the watch and the strap that we've already covered, let's get into the face, because the face carries so much depth. It is this silvery textured dial, and it looks beautiful. As you reflect it in the light, the dial changes, it shifts and sifts into different patterns. It's just absolutely awesome. That iconic Constellation star is at the 6 o'clock mark, which I love because it's slightly raised, giving it more depth. And the date window is also at the 6 o'clock mark, which I love because symmetry, you guys know me, photographer, I like things being just symmetrical. On the subject of symmetry, let's just do a quick wrist check because I love seeing all the watches that you guys have on your wrist. And the reason that symmetry is a nice sort of tie-in to the wrist check is because on my Tudor Blancpain, the ETA version, not the in-house version, it is nicknamed the Smiley because it has self-winding in a kind of smile just above the 6 o'clock mark. And this just aligns the watch. It's perfect symmetry to me and I love it. The indices and hands are in silver and the Omega logo is slightly raised in black. The dial is extremely clean and extremely classic. Now what I would love to see is not a silver dial but a white dial version of these with that texture sort of running through it, almost similar to the Grand Seiko Snowflake. I think that sort of textured white dial on this watch with that integrated strap, that would be awesome. Now that we've covered that face, dial, strap, and all that goodness, let's move on to the movement. And the movement is where this watch, for me, really shines through. The movement in this model is the Omega Caliber 8900. This, of course, is a fully automatic movement with a coaxial escapement. It's certified by Master Chronometer, approved by METAS, and resistant to magnetic fields reaching 15,000 Gauss. It has a free sprung balance with silicone balance spring, 2 barrels mounted in series, and automatic winding in both directions. This watch also has a 60-hour power reserve, scratch-resistant sapphire crystal glass with anti-reflective coating on the inside and the outside, and it goes to water resistances of 50 meters. Now, I would have much rather seen that at 100 meters, and I think they could maybe upgrade that, and also what could be perceived as a negative, but I don't think it is, and I'll explain why, is that anti-reflective coating on the outside of the sapphire crystal glass. Now, a lot of people say that this scratch is a lot easier, and technically speaking, it does, but I have the Omega Seamaster, as you guys will probably know, and I've had it for years. I've never scratched the face of it, even though it has that AR coating on the outside, so I don't think that'll be an issue. Listen, at the end of the day, I just thought I'd come on here and talk about a watch that I think is totally underrated. Omega is just dominated by the Seamaster and the Speedmaster, and not a lot of the other watches get the limelight. And this channel is about documenting my watch journey and what I think is cool and what I think you should maybe consider or even look at. Just go try it on the wrist. This thing wears phenomenally. It wraps round. It just looks a great shape. It's almost like a modern car with all those aerodynamic shapes crafted into it. It just looks awesome. So definitely go and try it on. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that subscribe button or leaving a comment on what you think of this watch. I love having debates. I love having arguments. Not arguments. Well, potentially arguments. Watch nerdy arguments. They're more like discussions, but I love having them in the comment section with you guys. My name is Harrison. This is the Chisholm Hunter channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be back in a couple of days.